Now's the time to be part of the team at Team Toyota. Step up to the plate with a winning lineup of new Toyota models like the new 4Runner, Grand Highlander, and the all-new 2026 RAV4. Or find something perfect for your game plan and your budget with over 300 certified used Toyotas available. And don't sweat a trip to the IL. Our service and collision centers will have you back in the game in no time. So slide into one of our 3 locations, Princeton, Langhorne, or Glen Mills, or take a swing online at teamtoyota.net. This is Phillies Talk, presented by Team Toyota. I am McKercher, digital video producer here at NBC Sports Philadelphia. I'm once again joined by Sean Kane, the producer of Phillies pre- and post-game live. Happy Thursday, Sean Kane.
Yes,
First time in
sir.
a while we're not on a Friday.
Happy Thursday, Spence. Happy spring training to you.
Happy spring training, pal. Happy
Season's
spring
underway.
training. I'll tell you what, man. We were sitting here on Wednesday, yesterday, and just seeing the scenics of our cameras down there, all the writers are down there, and of course John Clark doing a fantastic job as usual down there. But I don't know, man, like we were comparing them in the office the other day or yesterday of like excitement level, like 1 to 10.
Yeah.
And if you guys have listened before, I'm a gigantic Duke fan, so I put like Duke winning the championship at 10 and then like 1 being like, God knows whatever. That's not going to make me excited. I'm at like an 8 or 9, dude. Seeing the first
agree.
Hearing the cleats on the dirt, hearing the pop of the mitt.
It's baseball season. It's baseball season. It's cold up here. You see what they're doing down there. I'm with you. I'm a baseball guy, and I know a lot of people, the Phillies didn't do enough. They're just going to look like, no, it's exciting. They're a good team. I'm not to sound like Dave Dombrowski. They won 96 games last year. They won the division 2 years in a row. They lost the tight series to the Dodgers. That's not going to dampen my enthusiasm because the same core largely is coming back. I'm excited, and it's a journey, man. It's 162 games, so enjoy it. We'll worry about October when we get there, but no, I'm super stoked, excited that the mitts are popping down in Clearwater.
That they are, man. That they are. We'll be down there shortly. If you guys have listened to the pod, you know that. We are heading down. I'm leaving on Saturday, so this is our last podcast here in the studio at NBC Sports Philadelphia before we both get down there next week. Sean Kane will be there Tuesday. Keep an eye out for all the content on NBCSportsPhiladelphia.com and anywhere on NBC Sports Philadelphia's social channels as well. Also, bear with me. A little under the weather.
Oh,
of course, just dealing with this cold, man.
Got to get that Florida warmth.
I need it
sunshine.
Bad. Need it bad. I could barely talk the other day, so we're getting there.
Yeah.
But
you'll be in Clearwater. I'll be in Clearwater. You know who won't be in Clearwater?
That's exactly right.
Is that the good way to start, maybe?
That's a good way to start. There's a lot to get to in this podcast. We were kind of going to keep this one light. We do have some mailbag questions. We're also going to have the interview with Tanner Banks, the one-on-one I sat down with the Phillies reliever in the middle of January, but looking forward to that one, so that'll be later on the podcast. But before we get started, well, I guess as we get started, I should say, the big news of Thursday, the inevitable has finally happened. Nick Castellanos is released by the Philadelphia Phillies. The Phillies eat that $20 million that was owed to Nick in 2026 in the final year of a 5-year, $100 million contract. I have so much to say.
Yeah.
So much to say.
A lot to be said.
There's a lot going on. He will not be in spring training in Clearwater. That's a good way to put it, Sean Kane. But just your initial thoughts and reactions to Nick no longer a member of the Philadelphia Phillies.
You said it was inevitable, and that's the truth, because everything that Dave Dombrowski said all offseason was we're working to find a resolution. He got as far as this earlier this week, basically saying something was going to happen the next couple days, and Nick wasn't going to be here when the full squad reported on Sunday. I think the Phillies were hopeful, maybe too optimistic, that they could get something in return for Nick. Maybe they were hoping they could eat a large chunk of his salary and then maybe get a prospect in return from a team. But obviously they explored all their options and they didn't get an offer that they found acceptable. So they just decided to release him. I think it's good that it's over with. Like, some finality didn't leak into when the full squad reports. Everybody knew it was happening, but there were still going to be questions about it until it happened. And you had some people say, the Phillies aren't treating them fairly by letting it drag on like this. Like, the Phillies are trying to do what's best for the Phillies and try to get something in return. They were trying to get a deal done. Couldn't get a deal done. They released him. So now he can pick where he wants to go. I'm sure he's happy about that. He can go to a team that is suitable for him and a location that is suitable for him. And he's still going to get his $20 million. So I don't think Nick has a whole lot to complain about, as some other people have argued. I think the situation played out fairly for everybody, and it reached its conclusion, and that's a good thing. So now the Phillies can move on and concentrate on the guys that are there and look forward to the 2026 season. Dave Dombrowski spoke about Nick today. I'm sure Rob Thompson will be asked about him tomorrow, and some players will be asked as they trickle in here. But then once those initial questions are over, I think it's time to move on, and that's a good thing as opposed to him just kind of still being technically on the roster but not being at camp. Like, he'll be on some other roster, and that's a good thing.
Yeah. I mean, I think what it comes down to, we'll start with not being able to find a trade partner. The way I've been putting it is, I don't think anyone, especially after Eugenio Suarez signs a $15 million one-year deal, I don't think anybody in baseball was going to take on $20 million a year for Nick Castellanos.
Yeah. I think the hope was maybe the Phillies pay like 18 of it and so take like
It'd be like two.
Exactly. And give him a prospect.
And the Phillies, I'm sure, were reluctant to do that.
Yeah.
So when you put it that way, it's like, yeah, Nick Castellanos is not a $20 million a year player currently. No. Was he 4 years ago? Sure. But not this time. And I think that was really why teams kind of stayed away from him. I'm sure he's going to get picked up. Looks like John Heyman reported the Padres, the Blue Jays, the A's are just, and the Rangers were on there as well. Just a few teams interested in Nick Castellanos as well. Our good buddy Gabe Kapler and Miami Marlins have come out and said they are not interested already, which is kind of funny, like immediately afterwards. But,
which is his hometown.
Correct.
Which, frankly, he wanted to sign there in 22. He was hopeful he could get a deal done there, but the Phillies offered $100 million.
Correct.
Marlins weren't going to match that, and he would have preferred, I think, to play in South Florida, where his friends and family could watch him every night, where his son is growing up and living. So I'm sure the Marlins are a destination he had circled, but it doesn't sound like that's going to happen.
Correct. And we'll get to the Miami incident in a second, which Nick, if you haven't seen, released a handwritten letter, 4 pages long, on his Instagram page, so go check that out. We will play Dave Dombrowski's comments here in a second as well. But I just want to say, man, like, the Phillies fans that are defending Nick Castellanos right now, and yes, he's going to be missed to a point. Like, you and I both know, seeing how he interacted, with players, with the media, with everything. Like I said, it was inevitable that this would happen. But when you come down to the baseball side of things, really, in my opinion, in the last 8 years being here, I haven't seen anyone as streakier as Nick Castellanos.
Yeah.
You hit 5 home runs in 3 games in the NLDS, and then you go 1 for 24 in the remaining games after that in 2023.
Yeah.
That just sums up Nick Castellanos.
Yeah.
Right then and there. They really wanted him to be a 4-hole power hitter. He came in here thinking that he was going to be that guy, kind of backing up Kyle Schwarber and Bryce Harper. He never was that guy. Mm-hmm. We never saw the power that came from Cincinnati. We never really saw the consistent at-bats as from when he was in Chicago and Detroit and Cincinnati as well. When it comes down to it, baseball-wise, I just don't think Nick Castellanos lived up to the hype that when he was brought in here. It was the whole opening statement of, I didn't go to college, I just hit baseballs, right?
That's right.
And he did. He had some big moments, and he won games for this Phillies team. I mean, the few defensive plays in the playoffs in 2022, when he made the catch in right field in foul territory against the Braves in that day game that kind of cemented a big thing. Then he throws home. John Crux is yelling at him, what's he doing?
Because it was a foul ball, right?
Exactly.
Let it drop.
He has his moments here.
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
But it just was never going to last. And here's my last comment, and then I'll let you finish up because I know Matt Gelb released an article here that we want to get to. But what it comes down to, in my opinion, was he was not respected in this clubhouse. He was not respected by the media as much. He was not respected by his players and coaches. And that's what it comes down to. I don't think any of these guys, whatever the Miami incident happened, so he brings the beer onto the dugout. We don't have any footage of that.
Mm-hmm.
But what we do have footage of is that same game, and I believe we talked about this on the podcast when this happened in Miami. The next game, they're doing the high five line. Nick says something to Rob directly in the high five line.
Mm-hmm.
And it's kind of a dramatic, aggressive high five. He looks directly at Rob. You can tell, you don't know what he says, but it's very aggressive.
Yeah. And
Rob just kind of turns his head and stares him down and then continues the high five line.
Mm-hmm.
I don't think whatever was said there, and then with the beer, the whole thing, I don't think it went well with anybody in the Phillies organization. And this breakup was, like I said, inevitable.
Yeah, it was. It was inevitable. And you mentioned he had some moments, the 23 Braves DS certainly comes to mind. You mentioned what he did in that series. He was an all-star in 23, had a good first half of the season, but yes, very streaky. And in fact, in his 4 years here, I believe his OPS plus, which measures your OPS, which is on base plus slugging, against the rest of the major leagues. So a 100 OPS plus is a league average player, and that's pretty much what he was. And he wasn't league average defensively, despite what he might have believed. And he certainly wasn't a great base runner. He cost him a run on that wheel play in the DS this past year by, not getting a good jump off of second base there. But yeah, I mean, so that was that. He was basically an average hitter for a $20 million guy. Wasn't going to cut it. And it went downhill real fast last year. And you mentioned the incident in Miami, which we knew something was said. We had heard rumblings that he did bring a beer into the clubhouse. That was never confirmed by anybody. Sure enough, Nick today writes a letter, handwritten letter, and he addresses that as a big chunk of it, of what happened in that incident. The reason he wrote that letter, and he references this too, is that Matt Gelb of The Athletic had an article coming out that he had been working on, and it made its way to Nick that this article was coming out, probably through his agent. So Nick felt the need, I think, to kind of quick write a note and get out there and get his side of the story out there, which he did, and which he admitted to bringing in a bottle of beer to the clubhouse, from the clubhouse to the dugout, which, for all those who aren't as clued into the the unwritten rules and the written rules of baseball, that's a huge no-no. It shows a lack of respect for the dugout. It shows a lack of respect for your teammates. And frankly, it's a Major League Baseball rule that you can't have an open alcoholic container in the dugout, in an active dugout. The game's going on. So he went back up. He got pulled from that game in June in front of his friends, in front of his family in Miami for defensive replacement, which he's not a great defensive outfielder. They had Johan Rojas, who is perfectly sound, logical baseball decision to made. For Nick, who played every game last year in 24. He wants to play every inning. He's got a lot of pride in that. Good for him. But Rob Thompson made a good baseball move, and he was infuriated. Goes up to the clubhouse, gets a beer, brings it down to kind of show just a lack of whatever you want to say, towards Rob Thompson, towards the team. Apparently was shouting at Rob Thompson as he's holding this beer. And according to Matt Gelb's article, which Matt Gelb's article was well-researched, well-reported, he said Matt did that. He talked to dozens of Phillies players, staff, coaches, and they were given the freedom to be anonymous. So they could speak freely, and there was anonymous players, and there was quotes in there. And apparently JT Realmuto and Kyle Schwarber quick intercepted Nick before the cameras could catch him with a beer in the dugout, which they never did somehow. And then Howie Kendrick, who's around the team as like a special consultant advisor, former player himself, apparently snatched the beer out of Nick's hand and got that out, which Nick acknowledges all this. Like, thanks to Howie for getting the beer out of my hand. But he's yelling at Rob, and that was really the big tipping point. Like, I think a lot of players were put off by that. The lack of disrespect, the lack of respect for the manager. He's just yelling at the coaches and the manager. They apparently took it into Rob's office and spoke there. He was suspended for the next game. We know all this stuff, but that was the big tipping point. But in Matt Gelb's article, there were some other instances, some things that were brought to light that kind of show that wasn't the only thing. And then after that, it just kind of deteriorated quickly. He apparently, according to Matt's article, had a lack of respect for Rob Thompson and Kevin Long because neither of those guys played in the big leagues. Which is absurd. Like, Kevin Long's one of the best hitting coaches in baseball. Rob Thompson's obviously a very successful manager. Just because they don't play in the big leagues doesn't mean they don't know what they're talking about. So that was one part. And apparently, too, that there's been instances where Nick, when you win a baseball game, as you know, in the clubhouse, the Phillies, they party. You win a baseball game, it's fun. There's music playing, there's smoke on. When you lose, it's a silent clubhouse. Guys are just kind of talking to the media, but apparently, according to multiple sources in Matt's article, Nick would, if he had a good game and they lost, he'd put some music on in his own portable speaker at his locker, which rubs guys the wrong way. So it seemed like by the end of last year, after the whole incident in Miami, that pretty much everybody in that clubhouse was kind of tired of Nick's act. I think it had run its course. It was never going to be amended. They were never going to kind of reconcile the way Nick behaved, and it was time for him to go elsewhere. And finally today, that's what happened.
And you and I talked, being and seeing kind of the behind the scenes stuff, especially on the road. We have the live footage, of things going on in the clubhouse. Now, there's been multiple instances where reporters will go up to Nick and there's like J. Cole and Drake blasting after a 10-2 loss.
Yeah.
And it's just coming from his locker.
Right.
And I think that rubs players the wrong way. Like, hey, man, yes, there's 160 more games. And yes, Nick is a very open-minded, free will kind of guy, and that's fine. That's completely fine. I respect him about that. But when you're losing, it's not the right way to go about things, in my opinion. And the lack of respect for Rob Thompson, when you have Whit Merrifield, I know that's not like the biggest name to go back here, but Whit Merrifield has been going on all these podcasts. He was on 97.5, the midday show the other day as well. and basically saying Rob Thompson's the best manager he's ever been around.
Right.
So many people have come out and said that. And for him to not respect Rob because he didn't play in the big leagues is just asinine.
Yeah. Rob was a player. He played. He was a very good player. Correct. Made in the minor leagues. Like, he's not like he's some guy that was hired out of the broadcast booth who never played baseball. He was a lifer, and he coached for the Yankees for years.
Correct. Yeah, exactly. That's another. Like, he's been in baseball for 30-plus years.
Exactly.
Like, it's not this random analytic guy that they're brought in. They're like, hey, that pissed me off.
It seemed like, in Matt Gelb's article, there's a lot of referencing, like a lot of his teammates, Nick's teammates, were trying to reconcile, like, some things Nick does is great. Like, he takes in the younger guys. He's a mentor to some younger guys. Him and his wife take in new players and their wives, and they're friendly to him. You saw him after a Ryan Kerkering season-ending error. He sprints in from right field, and he's right by his side. So there was a lot of good, but it certainly seemed that a lot of the bad, the disrespect, and frankly, just the lack of being a team player, as referenced in the article, kind of overrode all the good things he did, and it was just time for him to go. And, I think a lot of references of just, hey, you're not the best defensive outfielder. We have other guys who are better. We're trying to win baseball games. So, like, just be a team player and realize that, hey, maybe this is better for the team that I come out of the game. And he couldn't even accept that. And then, let alone accept it, he just goes off, brings a beer into the dugout, and starts yelling at the manager. Like, that's just unacceptable. And frankly, I'm a little surprised that they didn't suspend him. I mean, if you remember after that, they suspended him for one game. And then he came back and played every day for a month. And also, he wasn't hitting at the time. I mentioned that. It's not like he had a hot bat they could just live with it.
No.
And Rob didn't pull in any defensive replacements for a long time either, and he did it once. They started doing it a little bit more later in the season, and at that point Nick was kind of in a platoon with Max Kepler in right field, but they just gave him, I thought Rob Thompson went above and beyond for a guy who wasn't really performing, who obviously was being disrespectful. He was trying to respect the fact that he wanted to play. I just, we talked a lot this about during the season last year. I just come down on Rob Thompson's side in this whole thing a lot more than I do Nick Castellanos.
Always.
Yeah.
And yeah, Rob defended Nick multiple times to the media as well.
Yeah.
Multiple times.
Yep.
And I think the way that he and Dave handled the whole Miami incident goes to show who kind of took the higher road. We didn't really hear about this, and that's how these guys are. They want to keep this stuff under wraps.
Yeah.
And I completely understand. Going back to just numbers real quick, too, I saw something that when Castellanos arrived, like I said, he had a great season and really a great career coming into here, especially in Cincinnati. So he came here with an 815 career OPS, but he posted just a 732 OPS in his 4 years with the Phillies as well. So he really just didn't get the job done as much as, people thought he would. And then maybe the frustration led to some of this, disrespect in the clubhouse. But like you mentioned, I'm glad you did mention that, because we've seen the parties on social, like he invited everyone over to his house all the time. They had these big parties all the time. Like, I think they were friends, but I think whatever happened in Miami really just kind of mailed it in. And this isn't like, breaking news or anything. But if you go back and look, you can do this with your own eyes. Go back and look at the way, basically from mid-August, really beginning of August on, and see how Bryce Harper, Kyle Schwarber, JT Realmuto, Trey Turner interacted with Nick. Whether it was in the dugout, go back and look at highlights. There's not a lot.
No.
There's not a lot. They have their pregame handshakes and stuff. Those kind of came to an end after this incident. I think he just lost the clubhouse, especially when you lose, the big name guys like Kyle, JT, Bryce. Like, once you lose those guys, man, like, there's no coming back.
And I can't speak for Bryce, but I know Bryce and him go way back. They played for Team USA together. They were in the same draft back when they were teenagers.
Bingo.
And, Bryce lobbied for them to bring him here. I remember that, when the lockout ended in 22 in March, and he said, we need a big bat. He mentioned Nick by name, and sure enough, here comes Nick a few days later with a $100 million contract. But yeah, I think Bryce, your point is well made, that some of the more prominent guys in that clubhouse just kind of ran out of patience and were like, we just can't deal with it anymore. And really the fact that they still managed to win 96 games while this was going on for essentially the whole second half of the season with one of their prominent players is pretty impressive.
It's crazy. So we're going to toss to Dave Dombrowski's comments real quick, and then we'll catch you guys on the other side. But here's Dave on Thursday afternoon after the Phillies released Nick Castellanos.
Well, yes. I mean, we've officially released the contract of Nick Castellanos from the organization today. We've spent a prolonged time trying to make a trade, and when I say that, trying to move his contract for minimum return from a dollar perspective and player perspective, but just hasn't worked out. And at some point, you just have to say, well, this isn't going to work. We have felt that we need to get a change of scenery for Nick, and wish him nothing but the best. He did a lot of good things for our organization. He was here for 4 years. We won every year he was here. Got a lot of big hits for us and a lot of big hits in the postseason. So wish him nothing but the best, except, of course, when he's playing the Phillies. And So that was the news for today.
In your opinion, why had the relationship soured to the point that you did not want to bring him back?
Well, I don't know that there's one specific. I know that lots being said about this incident in Miami. I don't think it's necessarily one incident. I think you just sometimes are in a situation when you're around day in and day out. You just things just don't work at a particular time. This isn't the first time. I mean, I think normally what ends up happening, Nick's been a very good player. He's had a nice career. And he probably will continue to do things very well. But a lot of times when a good player has their role change with the club, it can cause some friction. And his role changed last year from where it was. I mean, he played every single day for a lot of years in a row. And so sometimes that can contribute to it. Sometimes then people have debates between themselves where they're not all on the same page. But when you put all that together, sometimes you just need to make sure that you have a change of scenery.
Nick put out a letter after being released mentioning the Miami incident, that he brought a beer into the dugout, and I guess he says he did not drink from it. But was that something that tipped the scales in this case? Was that why he was benched?
Well, that was 7 months ago, so it was a long time ago. We spoke about it at the time. We addressed it at the time. Rob Thompson and I did with Nick. I was surprised. I mean, I was there at the game, and I watched everything from where I was sitting, and I was surprised that a lot of people didn't see what was taking place at the time. So I watched what took place. Of course, was advised. Now, I'm not in the dugout, so I wasn't 100% sure of every step of the way. But that contributed to, by all means, why he was suspended for that game or taken out of the lineup for that game, benched for the game. But it was a situation where that wasn't the final or determining factor, because if that was, we would have done that at that particular time. So, well, we kept trying to move his contract just for, and there were clubs that would show some interest at times throughout the winter time, really, starting back in November. There were times I thought we might make a trade. We were looking for more dollars at that particular time, but as time went on, I think we still have a responsibility. I know the dollars weren't standing in the way at this point of clubs taking them. So really, if we ended up moving his contract even for a minimal amount, it helps us from a CBT perspective, and so that's really why we kept trying to get this done. I think it's an obligation to do whatever we can to try to get that done. Well, I think he basically, and I wouldn't get into all my conversation, I mean, basically he's had an enjoyable 4 years here. I mean, he's been in a situation last couple of months, maybe not the greatest in that perspective, but he's done very well for himself. He's contributed to a good club. He's contributed to postseason runs. So, but I think that we all felt that it was probably in the best interest to have a change of scenery.
Welcome back to Phillies Talk. Obviously, Dave, it was kind of chaotic down there. We kind of see all the behind-the-scenes stuff back here. And John Clark, again, does such a phenomenal job. He's on the phone. Yeah. He was actually interviewing Larry Boa when the news came out. And he literally had to stop the interview with Larry and kind of go do his thing. So that was great. But just Dave's comments, right? I think not being able to find a trade partner was big. Him also mentioning, the Miami incident, saying, yeah, it did happen in a game, all that fun stuff. But what were your initial takeaways from Dave kind of just reacting to it?
Like, he was at that game, and he was like a little surprised that it didn't go out publicly, that I guess it didn't get on camera, or nobody else really saw what was going on. So he was a little surprised at that. And he mentioned change of scenery, and he mentioned that through the offseason. And it wasn't just that incident, but I think the fact that Nick became a platoon player, which Dave Dombrowski referenced, kind of for a guy that played every day and took a lot of pride in that his whole career. He wasn't happy with that, and he certainly wasn't going to be their everyday right fielder this year. So, the Phillies handled it fine, I think. Again, I'm not buying into the notion of, they should have done this months ago. They should have let Nick, they're letting him hang out there. Like, no, they're looking to do their best interest, and they're trying to get a trade done. They couldn't get one. They released the guy. Now he can go pick where he wants to play.
What about all the people that were saying the way they handled this in general? I have thoughts, because people are like, well, Dave immediately came out and said they're going to trade him. That kind of gave everyone the hand, and that's why they didn't end up trading him. Are you in agreement with that?
I don't know. I think people around baseball knew what was going on without Dave having to come out and say it.
Correct.
And that's why they probably couldn't get a trade done. He wasn't coming back here. He wasn't playing another game in a Phillies uniform.
Yep.
The minute that season ended last year.
And like you said, I think that was well known around baseball.
Yeah, exactly.
Even if Dave didn't say this.
Right. I don't think
people
Dave
knew around baseball.
Gave away any leverage unnecessarily. I think they were just hopeful that maybe somebody would want to secure him and not have to pay much for him, and hope that he can have a little bounce back season, and maybe the Phillies get a little something in return, or at the very least they get a little financial relief, or they don't have to pay the whole $20 million, which they're going to have to now.
Yeah, I just the fans that are just upset that Dave tilted his hand to this whole entire thing when he started talking about this, pretty much right after the season in that end of season press conference. I just don't buy it. I don't buy it. I think people around baseball knew that this was going to happen. Again, inevitable that it was going to happen. So, do you have any landing spot for him?
I don't know. I mean, interesting, like you said, that Miami's always the first thing that comes to mind, but apparently Cap is not going to dip his toe into that. Cap's a culture guy, and I don't know that he wants any parts of Nick coming down there, I guess.
Standing shoulder to shoulder.
Yeah, exactly. But yeah, I don't know. I mean, it'll be interesting to see. I mean, I know the Blue Jays, like Santander got hurt. He's out for pretty much the whole season, 5-6 months. Do they want to take a chance on another, an outfielder who has a little pop and a right-handed bat? San Diego, a little more laid back out there with some veterans in the clubhouse. Obviously, him and Machado are both South Florida guys. There's probably a little relationship there. I don't know. It'll be interesting to see where he goes. Prediction wise, I'll go San Diego.
Okay, I can see him playing in San Diego. We'll see how that unfolds. The name that John Heyman, or the team that John Heyman also threw out there, was the Reds. So
go back to Cincinnati.
Sign a minimum contract, run it back basically from 2021 when they had Suarez and everybody else. So they have Eugenio Suarez and now maybe Nick Castellanos.
Do you think he respect Tito? Has Tito done enough to impress Nick that he knows what he's doing?
Jeez Louise.
I mean, Tito wasn't a star in the big leagues.
That's true.
But he does have a few World Series rings.
And I know this is bad podcast, but Schultz not in San Diego anymore, right?
No.
And now
Stammen took over there? Yes.
So,
Schultz got, he's no longer the manager there.
Good luck.
I think it's Craig Stammen took over the manager job, right? It was one of those surprising hires.
We'll see.
Yeah,
best of luck to
That's
Nick.
Tough for a manager. If you're a GM, president of baseball operations, you need to have a long talk with your manager if you want to make this move.
Bingo.
Yeah.
Bingo. All right, so to wrap up, Nick, best of luck to him. We spent 22 minutes talking about Nick.
Yes.
Again, he was great to me sometimes. He was great, to others sometimes. But, I think the saying is, you can only be as good as your best or your worst day or something like that. And some of his worst days were pretty bad. So best of luck to Nick, though, and I'm sure he'll be back on his feet, and hopefully he can rejuvenate his career elsewhere.
Real quick, I know you're wrapping this. What type of, if he comes to Citizens Bank Park this year, what does the crowd do?
That's such a great question.
I'm sure some people are on board with Nick, and thanks for the memories, but there's probably some other people that are glad he's not here anymore.
It won't surprise me if it's 50-50. The reaction to social media of him leaving has been shocking to me. I thought it was going to be the complete opposite of all right, see ya.
Yeah.
But it's more like, we're going to miss you, 8. Thanks for all the everything.
So maybe he gets a nice round of applause.
Okay, what did Nick Castellanos do? What did he do?
Yeah. I mean, he had some moments. Last year he didn't really contribute a whole lot. That's for sure.
I just he hit 3 home runs in 5 games, or 5 home runs in 3 games. Excuse me.
You're talking in the 23 postseason
and the 2023 NLDS.
Yeah. And he was him and Harper were the only ones that hit in that series against the Mets in 24 in the DS. And he did have that hit against the Dodgers this year where he kind of stuck his bat out and flicked it out into left field. But no, you don't have to.
I just don't get it.
I'm with you.
I just don't get it. But hey, fans, he was fan favorite, and it was real cool too. As we finally wrap him up, he did credit and his little in the letter basically how much Philadelphia embraced Liam. His son, and he was like, that's something I can never repay. So that's really cool. Yeah, and the Phillies fans did embrace Liam and his entire family, and I respect that as well. That Liam was the best, man. He was a great kid. Seeing him in the clubhouse all the time. So he will be missed as well. But other than that,
there were some nice parts of the note. He thanked Dave Dombrowski, he thanked John Middleton, he thanked his teammates in the city of Philadelphia, and Rob was conspicuously absent. Him and Kane
didn't play in the big leagues.
Yeah,
play in the big leagues.
Yeah, nice try, Rob. Not a big leaguer, so what do you know?
All right, we're going to toss to Tanner Banks.
There we go.
Right now. And then we're going to recap some of the first 2 days of Phillies spring training, pitchers and catchers reporting. There's some news here and there. But first, Philly Sports Trips, and then we'll throw to Tanner Banks. It's an interesting interview. The guy is very well-spoken and also had some fun. So had a lot of fun with him. So take a listen. We'll talk to you guys on the other side.
Spring training, right around the corner. So escape the cold and come catch the Phillies in Clearwater with NBC Sports Philadelphia and Philly Sports Trips. We're teaming up to bring fans the most unforgettable Phillies spring training experience yet. The trip includes Phillies game tickets, beachfront accommodations, round-trip travel, all-inclusive tailgates, and much more. Plus, appearances from Larry Boa, Charlie Manuel, and of course, NBC Sports Philadelphia's own Ben Davis. Book your trip today at phillysportstrips.com.
I'll be joined by Tanner Banks, relief pitcher, Philadelphia Phillies. Tanner, we were just joking a little bit before we got started. We had Otto here first. Mustache guys. But do you have any tips to kind of like get this cleaned up a little bit?
Oh my goodness. For the longest time, I just used like your typical like disposable razor. There's like the little one blade thing where you can get in close.
Love it.
The problem is you always got like the stray hair, and then you trim one. You're like, maybe I like that hair there.
And it continues to go.
Yeah, it's a back and forth.
Exactly.
Like I can imagine women are similar. Like, okay, let me clean up my eyebrows. Maybe I don't like this hair.
Yep.
Next thing you know, they're getting their eyebrows done.
Exactly.
So like, it's the same thing. We're like, oh, I wish I could put that hair back.
Bingo. Exactly. Well, appreciate that, man. We'll see what we can do. How you feeling? How you getting ready for a big 2026? Just prepping for spring training, heading down to Clearwater shortly. What's your mindset going in? Feeling healthy? Everything feeling good?
Oh man, the off season speeds by every year.
It does, man.
Unfortunately, I mean, we're all excited to get back to baseball and America's pastime, but I'm really looking forward to 26. Outside of family stuff, like I'm excited for what's in store for the team. We've got some great guys coming back and some awesome dudes that we've signed. Guys I've gotten to pitch against and Adolis Garcia, and guys I played with like Brad Keller. A full-time Duran will be awesome. But it's been a quick off season, but there's always those little things. I talked to some of the analytics guys, and like, yeah, we got stuff we got to do to get ready for spring training. And I think it's the same across the board for you, for me, for everybody. Like, if you procrastinate and fall behind, then you're gonna come season time not be right where you need to be. And that whatever you call it, doing your due diligence, if you will. It makes a big difference.
For sure. And you mentioned family. How's your wife Chandler? The two boys, how are they doing? Hanging out?
They're doing so good.
Good, man.
Yeah, we took the plunge last last off season. We found a place across the river and get the boys in school and like excited to make this place home. I say this place, make Jersey and Philadelphia like a full-time home, and it's a great place. It's beautiful. Some of the places we've explored, like the Johnson family farm, is there's a lot of that stuff. Getting out to Lancaster, like I want to show my kids like Amish country is so cool. One of my teammates, Matt Strom, brought in honey for some of the guys from out there, and I mean it's the closest thing to caramel I've ever had. Like, but to be able to embody that full time, I'm excited for my family.
I love that. I grew up in Lancaster area, so know the Amish well, and it's always great down there. Food's always fantastic too, no matter what you get.
I can imagine.
Looking in, you mentioned Matt Strom. Obviously, he's now in Kansas City, but you mentioned the additions to the bullpen. What does that do for a guy like you, where you kind of see some faces leave, but then you bring in these new faces? What's it do for the confidence, motivation, mindset heading into 2026?
It's cool to know that the arms that they've brought in, it's not a next man up. It's kind of a plug and play. There's a bunch of incredible arms, and outside of Duran coming in with the Flames and the Tarantula in the ninth, like we've got Keller and Kirkering and Alvarado, some to name a few. How the rest shakes out, I don't know, but to think like any one of those guys could take the 6th, 7th, 8th inning and lock it down because they're all electric arms is cool. And wherever I fall into there, like I've said it before, when Topper calls down or Caleb calls down and says, hey, get Banks going, like whether that's the 6th inning or the 8th inning or the 12th inning, like it doesn't matter. As long as we win, that's all that matters.
Exactly.
But I'm happy to pitch whenever I get a chance.
That's awesome. What's that feeling like when you get that call, when you're down in the bullpen, whether it is in the 8th inning, 9th inning? You pitched in some big leverage situations in 2025, but what is that feeling like?
Last year was definitely a different year for me. That was my first year really getting to tackle some more meaningful innings. And it means a lot from a perspective of you've, up until this point, I just kind of took down I don't know what you call the innings, but but to kind of have a almost return on investment, like what you're doing is showing and paying off. And again, at the end of the day, like I'm going to pitch whenever they ask me to, and I'm going to be happy to do it. But wherever I fit in the mix, I'm happy to play.
I love that. And I think Phillies fans are going to love to hear that. You cut your walk rate in half last season from 2024 to 2025. Where did that success come from?
It was funny. In 2024, I thought mostly about throwing hard. I want to throw hard. I want to throw hard. I want to throw hard. And sometimes that works. But at the end of the day, like for me, hard, and for the rest of the league, hard are two different things. So I powwowed with the pitching staff in the offseason between 24 and 25, and a couple of things that I wanted to work on. I wanted to work on killing speed on my changeup and throwing more pitches in the zone. You know, you need to be greedy when you're 0-2, 1-2. Like, of course you want the strikeout, but you don't have to throw strikes in the zone all the time. And that was something that always was in the back of my mind. As a starter in the minors, throwing 88, 90 miles an hour, it was throw strikes, throw strikes, throw strikes. I'm like, why can't I strike guys out? Well, because you're throwing the pitches in the zone. Like, guys can't hit the balls that bounce on the plate, but you got to allow yourself to get to that place. So that's what, like, throwing harder, I thought I had more success beating guys in the zone. But the focus was getting the ball in the zone early and then playing with your food just enough. But realizing, like, there's a difference between a waist pitch and, like, an out pitch, you know? The nasty back foot, Luzardo slider. You can bounce it on the plate, but that might not accomplish something.
Right.
So making sure that when I do miss, it's an effective miss, and I'm not doing it 3 times to get to a full count. Instead of, you know, I would rather make a pretty good pitch. If you don't swing and miss, you beat it into the ground, than throw 2 of them and then have to throw you a strike anyway. So that led into, you know, I want you to get out. I want you to get out early, or I want to take 1, maybe 2 shots at striking you out.
That's awesome. That's such a cool mindset. I feel like Phillies fans are going to like to hear kind of that mindset going in to when you come in.
There's a lot that goes into it.
Right, exactly.
People are like, oh, throw a strike and let the game happen. But there's certain hitters too. Like, you throw him a strike and the risk reward in that, like, you might chase, but he also might not.
Right.
He might take the first pitch down the middle, but if he doesn't, it might end up in the stands. So it's that weird give and take of, like, bear with me, because it's oftentimes part of the strategy.
Now, you mentioned the hitters. Is there somebody that you faced, could be last year, could be in years previous, that it's your favorite just because it's kind of like a competition favorite, not just because you have success against them, but somemen that it's like, all right, you know, go.
When I was in the AL Central, we played Kansas City a lot. Vinny Pasquantino. I actually heard in an interview, someone asked me, like, who's your least favorite person to face? And he said me.
That's awesome.
And, like, I hadn't talked to him at all. I'd talked to some friends that were in the organization, like, he's the man. And then when I got over to Philly, I got to face him again. We were in Kansas City. I think we were in Kansas City. And he grounded out to Harper or something, or maybe second base. And as he's running down the line, he looks at me and he's laughing. He's like, "Ha ha! You didn't strike me out." I'm like, "Oh my gosh! Like, I like this guy. I'm a Vinny Pasquantino fan."
That's awesome.
And I wouldn't say that there's like this like my favorite person to face, but it's because of that interaction. Like, it's a fun kind of camaraderie back and forth. Like. You're going to get me? Am I going to get you? Like, how's this going to shake out? But now there's a little bit of, I guess, skin in the game.
And that's one of those that you remember for years down the road too,
absolutely.
Right? What's it like working with Caleb Cotham? I've talked to him a few times, and just picking his brain.
There's a lot of brain to pick.
There's a lot of brain to pick all the time. And it's an encyclopedia of knowledge, especially when it comes to pitching. But what's it been like for you personally to work with Caleb Cotham?
Man, there's so much that can go into. It's kind of like a dictionary. Like, do you want to go surface level, or do you want to, like, do you want to find the biggest word in the dictionary? Do you want to find kind of a tough analogy, but there's something for whatever it is that you want to see or want to work on, and it can be as surface level or as deep as the Mariana Trench. Like, he texted me today asking how, like, a certain thing was going with pitching. I told him my thoughts, and I asked him for his, and mine was very surface level, like, oh, a fastball down and away, maybe like a backdoor slider. It's like, well, you know, you can do this, to do that, to do this, to do this.
Mm-hmm.
You're absolutely right. You thought about it and said what I was thinking without going that deep. I wasn't thinking of it as technical.
Right.
But he's got something for everybody.
That's awesome.
He's got that cool flip phone.
Exactly.
I mean, it's basically an iPad. It's like, this is where you're at with everything.
Yep.
There's video of everything. If it's a pitch you're working on, if it's a mechanical thing,
Yep.
there's a million
Could be grip
videos.
too, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Grips, mechanics,
Yeah.
thought process, pitch execution. Like, there's something for everybody.
That's awesome. That's great. Heading into this season too, right? There's a lot of kind of outside space talking about the windows closing, but then there's so much young talent coming up.
I will just interrupt you here.
Of course.
There's more than one window, brother.
Love that. I love it. I'm with you. And because my opinion is, especially when you look back and some fans are saying the window's closing, I don't think so at all. I don't think the window's closing whatsoever. And like you said, there's more than one window. What's your message to Phillies fans, though, for you personally, that say that?
About the window.
Especially being in a veteran-led clubhouse, but also these young guys kind of ascending to now being in the big leagues.
I have a lot of like corny dad jokes and one-liners. Like I don't take anything too seriously until I have to.
Mm-hmm.
What I will say is sometimes you got to close the window for things to heat up. You don't want to let all the air out, you know? Maybe it's not about the window.
Mm-hmm.
So I think that we got the same group of dudes plus more.
Mm-hmm.
And I mean, we all know each other and we worked well together. And I say you look at some of the teams that win it. I mean, the Dodgers are an anomaly. They spend huge and they've got some great talent, and kudos to them.
Mm-hmm.
But sometimes the teams that make great runs, I think about the Guardians, I think about the Royals, I think about even the Blue
Phillies,
Jays. Like
Phillies in 2022,
yeah,
right?
Exactly.
Yeah.
There's a million different situations
Mm-hmm.
or scenarios, I guess, where you've seen teams get hot at the right time. The Tigers
Mm-hmm.
in 24 came out of the woodworks and went on a crazy run, and then they did it again last year. Like, you see that happen in so much of closing the door or closing that window. I know that's not the same analogy,
Same thing.
but is the guys getting hot at the right time.
Mm.
Like we were killing the ball in August. In September, like, we still played really good.
Mm-hmm.
But it's all about that timing. Like the Tigers, they had somehow like a 60-game, 70-game, 80-game span to start the year last year where it was like, who are these guys? And you see other teams. I remember the Guardians did it a couple years ago. You know, they came together,
Mm-hmm.
and sometimes that's all it takes, that coming together, and 2 or 3 bats get hot, and the rest takes care of itself.
And what gives you, is it the all-star level guys like Bryce, Trey, Kyle? What gives you that confidence that this team can get to that stage?
I mean, we've seen them all come together and,
Mm-hmm.
and bang at the same time. You know, that game against the Braves in
ridiculous.
25 where I don't know how many, 8 home runs or something crazy. Like,
Silly.
we all can do it.
Yep.
At the end of the day, like, hitting major league pitching is not an easy thing
Mm-hmm.
to. I mean, I couldn't hit in high school. I can't imagine hitting off of some of these guys.
Yep.
But
Including yourself. There's no chance.
at least I'd know what's coming. But again, like, a lot of it is timing. So how can we? You think about like a track star getting ready for the Olympics. Like, if the World Series is your aspiration, what are you doing to prepare? Yeah, you have to kick butt all season long to qualify to get to the Olympics. Same thing for us in the postseason and the World Series. But how do we get to that peak right at the right time where everything's clicking on all cylinders, and then you steamroll and you celebrate, and everyone's like, whoa, that team kicked it into a new gear. Because like, when we're not going good, we're still a freaking crazy team.
Bingo.
So you get just a couple integral pieces, whatever the word is,
That's it.
to work at the right time. I mean, imagine, like, we're we're an F1 car, and if 2 of our cylinders are firing, like the car's still going to go. It might not compete in the race the way you want it to, but it will.
Yep.
So if you can get that like all 8 or 12 or 16, I don't know how many cylinders are in a race car, but you get them all going at once, and it's like, stay out of the way.
Watch out.
Because they're coming, and they're coming fast.
Love it. Last question for you. Going back to your season last year, did you take pride in coming in to games with runners on base? Is that something that you kind of focused on this or in last season, or is that something this year that you're also like, does it get you fired up, or is it just?
You know what's funny is there's 2 sides to every coin. There's certain times where you want like a fresh inning, like okay, I want to come in, I want to throw the 8th inning, or I want to come in after Wheels and like, next guy.
Yep.
But there's also times where it's a close game and you see that your buddy doesn't have it that day. And everyone in the bullpen's like, we can't let this guy wear it because, if the knife gets jabbed in, you can pull it out and you're going to heal. But if it gets twisted, like in any movie, you're like, oh crap, that dude's toast.
Yep.
So like the fact that we've had guys on deck when situations have happened so that it doesn't twist, really, really bad analogy. but you know what I'm talking about.
Course,
like,
of course.
Like the actors in the movies, they always get up and it's on to the next fight.
Yep.
Unless it's too bad of a blow.
Right.
But any reliever would tell you the same thing. Like you want to come in and stop the damage, and there's no better feeling than doing exactly that. On the contrary, you give up that guy's runs, and then you could carry on to throw 2 or 3 scoreless innings, but it still kind of stings because those are his base runners, but they're my runs too.
Bingo.
I could get myself into the same predicament, and if no one's there to bail me out, what am I going to do? If I don't have that guy in line behind me and it's my job to finish the game, like that's where you have to take a deep breath and hello, wake up, like let's go. And I think about like Luzardo was a prime example. I don't know. I mean, I was responsible for some of them, but how many of the runs that scored on his stat line were inherited runs?
Right.
It was if he didn't lead baseball, like I'd be surprised.
Yeah.
But to say, on the same topic, like had we come in and not let half of those runs score, he's got a 2.8 ERA.
Right.
Like he had an incredible year anyway, but on paper it would have looked even more ridiculous.
Yeah, I'm with you. And you take pride in that, obviously.
Absolutely.
I love it.
Absolutely.
Well, Tanner, thanks so much for your time, man. Looking forward to spring training. Looking forward to see you down there. And obviously a big 2026 season.
Heck yeah.
Yeah, appreciate you, man. Thank you very much.
Welcome back to Phillies Talk, presented by Team Toyota. Sean Kane over there, Spencer McKercher right here. Sean, fun interview with Tanner Banks.
Yes.
A lot of mustache chatter again. A lot of F1 chatter. Talked about, him, different cylinders. But my favorite part was him looking at the camera and said, just because one window closed doesn't mean there's more. And you got to keep the heat on in the kitchen.
There you go. That's words to live by right there.
And he said he's full of dad jokes.
Yeah, that's Ben Davis would approve of that.
100%.
The best dad joke author I've ever met in my life. But yeah, great interview and great personality, which is, you don't see it a lot because he doesn't really tend to talk much after games unless something goes wrong, and then he's not joking around, obviously.
Right.
But yeah, really good personality, which we're starting to see, and really big part of their success last season, and they're counting on him again. Him and Alvarado are kind of the 2 lefties now that Strom's gone in that bullpen. So expecting big things out of Tanner and taking on a bigger role, and seems like a good dude, and I really enjoyed that interview. That was great.
Thank you, pal. Yeah, it was a good one. It was a lot of fun. He was the last one to go that day. And when we got started, I was like, oh man, him and I could have sat down for 3 hours. It was like one of those, just like bouncing ideas off each other. But really good dude. Hoping for a big season for him in 2026.
Yeah.
So to recap then real quick, there is, first 2 days of Philly spring training, pitchers and catchers in the books. And really the big news of Wednesday was our ace, Zack Wheeler, back throwing. It was just great to see him, man. And even just seeing him running and throwing and doing everything.
Yeah.
Then he comes out, talks about his progress, feeling good.
Know where this is going.
What are we doing, man? Listen, you and I had the debate, and I'm okay with it. But Zack Wheeler admits that he has his rib just sitting in his closet at home. So when he got the thoracic outlet, the decompression surgery, you have to remove that first rib, which is kind of near the shoulder.
Yep.
So he gets that removed, and he said the doctor comes in and said, "Hey man, like, do you want this?" Like, and he was like, "Yeah, it's kind of gross." He gave it to me in a bag, and now it's sitting in a case in his closet.
Yes.
Would you keep the rib?
I mean, at first thought, I was like, no, that's weird. But apparently it's a somewhat common practice for people that have this procedure. And they want to hold on to the rib. I guess it's your rib. You've had that rib your whole life. You don't want to just throw it in the trash, I guess. I don't know, man. I think it'd be weird to kind of have it in the house somewhere. But
I guess in the closet.
Like, and I love how like the doctor like wanted to offer Zack himself like right after the surgery so he could kind of like, talk to Zack Wheeler, which is pretty cool. But yeah, it strikes me as weird on the surface, but I'm starting to come around to a little bit of maybe why you'd want to keep that maybe as a keepsake.
Listen, I thought about it long and hard. I'm keeping the rib, dude.
You're keeping the rib.
It'd be cool. I mean, it was inside your body.
Yeah.
You're checking it out. I'm keeping it too. Put it in like a little glass case, look at it every once in a while. Make sure the kids don't see it though.
Yeah, yeah, that's true. Kids have a lot of questions.
You'd be like, "Excuse me?"
Yeah.
I would definitely keep it though. It'd be a keepsake, man. I'd hang it on the wall in the mantle.
Yeah,
just kind of hang it out.
He's like, hey, they preserved it for me. I guess the Phillies trainer Paul Bokite kind of had
to do some preserving.
Put some sort of exactly right, so it doesn't decay. And now it's in his house, and he has it, and it's on his mantle. Next to all those All-Star appearances and everything else.
Should be Cy Youngs.
Yeah, should be Cy Young runner-ups, and then everything else. Now he's got a rib up there.
There you go.
But yeah, he seems like he's in good spirits. He was joking about that, and he's throwing. He's not off of a mound yet, but everything seems to be positive. And as we know, he won't be there for opening day, but hopefully not too long after. And yeah, it was good to see him out there and good to see him talking. He talked a lot about wanting to finish it off and win a World Series with this group, and I think they had to be a little more consistent in October. But yeah, good to see Zack. Good to hear Zack. And aside from the rib discussion, he had a lot of good things to say.
He did. He had a lot of good things to say. If you missed it, it is on our YouTube page. The entire full media session from Wednesday is up on NBC Sports Philadelphia's YouTube page. Go check that out. But I think it was, man, like it just made me happy to see him.
Yeah.
Just kind of smiling, having a good time. And I'm sure he feels good to kind of be back and around the guys a little bit. He said he stayed in Philadelphia the entire offseason where it's been snowy and cold. So it feels good to be down there and throwing and hanging out with the guys again. But Rob Thompson, and I know you just mentioned, Rob Thompson did say that, to me, opening day was never in the question.
Yeah.
Rob Thompson kind of dismissed that and said, there's no chance he's ready for opening day. But shortly after is kind of crazy to me, man. Like I still thought it was going to be June by the time we see Zack Wheeler. But if we see him by the end of April.
Yeah, I mean, I take not long after opening day to mean if opening day is March 26th, you probably think he's sometime in April.
Crazy.
Yeah. But even if it's sometime in May, there's no need. He's going to be 36. He's no need to be pushed. They can get by without him early in the season. Obviously, they want him healthy in August, September, and October, hopefully. So I get it. I get the cautious approach. It seems like he's on board with that. Like he's more concerned about just checking off the boxes and strengthening up the arm and the shoulder, and it makes sense. So good. Yeah, don't rush it. Let him go at his own pace, and hopefully we see him back and atop that rotation, and they could have a really good rotation if he's back to being Zack Wheeler.
Now, a lot of friends have asked me my opinion on it. Do you think we're going to see the Zack Wheeler of old once he does return?
I mean, you never know. The type of surgery he had, the type of thoracic outlet syndrome he had, I think lends itself for more of a fuller recovery. We see some other guys, Merrill Kelly comes to mind, that had it, came back and pitched at an all-star level. So you never know. But I think percentages are that he's going to come back, and now will he win the Cy Young? Who knows? Will he be Zack Wheeler out there, throwing to a 2.3 ERA for the remainder of the season? Maybe not, but I think even 85-90% of Zack Wheeler obviously is great. So yeah, I think he's going to come back and pitch well. I think he's going to take his time, come back, pitch well, and I think you can expect him to have that ERA right around 3 and give you 7 solid innings, and they'll obviously build his pitch count up from there. But no, I think he's going to come back, and if he's not Cy Young caliber, I think he'll be All-Star caliber.
I'm with you. I'm hoping so. I had the same answer to some of my friends. I would like to think that he will become, the same Zack Wheeler that we've seen before. Like you said, if he's at 100% back then, even, this past 2025 season before the surgery, if we see him at 90-95%, I'll take that because 90-95% Zack Wheeler is still a top 10 pitcher in all of baseball. So
no doubt.
I hope all is well. And I think you said, I think he's taking his time. He, as much as he wants to be back, this is not something you rush. This isn't like a broken bone.
Right.
This is very much deeper than that.
Yeah.
And this is something that you take your time with, and I think he will take his time to check all the boxes before he's back to 100% and healthy for the Phillies in 2026. The other news and notes of really around the past 2 days down in Clearwater, my big thing, here we go. Wait, real quick before we even dive into that.
Yes.
How's your handmate?
My handmate is, as far as I know,
yours
good.
okay?
No, I haven't been taking as many swings as Lindor and Corbin Carroll and Jackson Holiday. The handmate, I've certainly obviously heard of that injury. It's somewhat common in baseball. Not common enough to where on the first day of spring training you have like 3 all-stars or 3 star players, if you include Jackson Holiday as a star player.
I do.
Having surgery on that, and they're all going to be questionable for opening day. I mean, obviously Lindor and Carroll are top guys for their teams, so crazy. And whether it's just from swinging and something weird happens, it's that little like hook bone under your pinky, from what I understand.
I think it's the thumb.
Okay, I thought it was pinky. I've been doing a lot of reading on this.
Okay, then you're locked in.
There's
Okay,
like a
maybe you're
little
locked
like
in.
like on this side of your hand, maybe like the
Goodness.
handmate bone, kind of like by your wrist, like this little like small hook bone on the pinky side.
Copy that.
Yeah.
So yours is okay though.
I think so. Yeah, I mean, again, I haven't really been in the cage as much as years back, but no, I'm good. I think I'm healthy enough. Good handmate bone. I haven't slipped and fallen on any of the ice or snow where I might need to like brace myself, and then the handmate kind of.
There you go.
But yeah, I'm good. But that's crazy. What a weird rash of injuries this early in spring training.
And a lot of things are said, and Francisco Lindor really is the big one. What they said is, it's 6 weeks of missing time, but in reality, your power is gone for about 3 to 4 months.
Yeah.
So we might not see the Francisco Lindor that we've been used to this season, which...
Yeah.
Right.
Corbin Carroll not playing in the WBC. That
Big.
stinks.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And then Spencer Schwellenbach,
Yes, that's troubling
really
if you're a
the big
Braves fan.
news.
Yes.
the Braves starter.
Yeah.
Started the season on the 60-day IL.
Right elbow inflammation. He missed the last 3 months of last season with a right elbow injury. So not a good sign that it's, the February 12th and where he's already experiencing some discomfort there. So, yeah, that's not good. And he's a huge part of their rotation. I mean, we see how good he can be when he's healthy.
That's
one of those dynamite Spencers in that Atlanta rotation.
That's true.
Can't go wrong.
Can't go wrong with dynamite Spencers.
Exactly.
And him and Mr. Tight Pants over there.
Make it make Spence.
Make it make Spence.
Is that what the segment was called?
It was.
Yeah, make it make Spence.
I forgot about that.
Spencer Howard, I believe, was the plan.
Make it make Spence.
Yeah.
Speaking of, we will have a fun little segment this season where that dude's toast.
Oh, we're going with it.
Do you want to go with it?
I mean, it's your segment.
Yeah, let's do it.
You're the brains behind this.
So we'll start it real quick. But Nick Castellanos.
Yeah, well.
Toast. Toast.
Yeah, Spencer Schwellenbach.
So keep an eye out for that during the season. We'll have some fun little segments.
Maybe get a bread company to sponsor us or something.
Get Wonder in here.
Yeah.
Dave's Killer Bread, anything.
Okay.
So the other news then, too, really injury news first. Ryan Kirkering dealing with a little hamstring tightness.
Yeah.
But Rob Thompson said he's not really too worried about that. He'll kind of take it easy the next few days.
Yep.
Daniel Robert, who ended the season on the 60-day IL, is dealing with a little cardiovascular issue. He's going to Atlanta tomorrow on Friday to get that checked out. So hopefully all is well with Daniel Robert.
Yep.
And then really the big one, Gabriel Rincones Jr.
Yeah.
Came out on Thursday that he's dealing with some knee soreness.
Mm-hmm.
That's a name that we could keep an eye on, Sean Kane, in the entire month of spring, or the entire spring here before the season starts. But him kind of being a little sidelined to start the spring is a little worrisome.
Yeah, it's a guy you've talked a lot about, and it's also a guy that Dave Dombrowski and Rob Thompson have gone out of the way this offseason to talk about. And he's a guy, Rincones, that's in that mix for that kind of final bench spot. I mean, I think right now, if they got 4 bench spots, and I think the backup catcher, whoever that is going to be one. I think Sosa will be the other. And then you have that platoon between Marsh and Kemp. So we'll call it Kemp as the third bench guy. And then you have that battle for the 4th bench spot. Is that going to be Dylan Moore, who we talked about in our last podcast? Is it going to be Johan Rojas? Is it going to be De La Cruz, who we talked about previously a few times? Or Rincones? So I think there's a handful of guys that are in the mix for that 4th bench spot. And obviously this doesn't help his chances, Rincones, that he's going to be out for a little bit here. And I guess Rob Thompson said that he's probably not going to get into games until about the middle of the schedule, which I take to be like early March.
Right.
So yeah, not great.
Maybe a little later.
And I was hopeful that he would show something this spring and kind of give them a tough decision to make whether or not to keep him on the roster.
Yeah, it's tough. So hopefully Rincones kind of gets healthy and can have some opportunity and some time to prove himself before the season gets going. And the other big news of the past 2 days, really, Aidan Miller.
Yes.
Wes Crawford and Andrew Painter, really. We will hear from Andrew Painter in the latest Takeoff podcast with John Clark. A lot of good stuff from Andrew. But my big thing, Aidan Miller. Rob Thompson announced on Wednesday that he will take the majority of the reps at third base and shortstop.
Yep.
No left field. No left field.
A little bit
Rob
at second
Thompson
base.
said,
Yep.
Yep. No second base. A little bit of second base. A little bit of second base. Excuse me.
Yeah.
No left field.
Yep.
But what's intriguing is that Aidan Miller has been a shortstop his entire career in the minor league so far. But the fact that he will be taking some reps in third base could spell, you could see the muddy waters there. Him taking some opportunities at third base, but I'm excited of that. And he's got his locker right next to Bryce Harper.
Well, that's a big deal.
Let's go.
The locker thing first, I think, is obviously not a coincidence that his locker in the Baycare Ballpark clubhouse is in the corner next to Bryce Harper, Kyle Schwarber, and JT Realmuto. So if you want three guys that you consider veteran leaders who have accomplished quite a bit in the game to kind of show Aidan Miller how a big leaguer goes about his business on a daily basis, I think they want Aidan Miller to kind of observe those guys. So that's a big deal. And yeah, the third base thing's a big deal too. Like you said, he's primarily been a shortstop. We talked about this before. Alec Boehm, I think, his final year here before he hits free agency, I'd be shocked if but I think there's a good chance that this could be Alec Boehm's last year as a Philly. And if they need a third baseman and this kid can handle it, I think he's your opening day third baseman in 2027. I do think you're going to see him in 26, whether that be due because of injury or he just plays so well that they bring him up and find playing time for him if somebody else in the infield is struggling. But I think he maybe starts his Phillies career as a third baseman. And then when they finally get to the point where Trey's not going to be their shortstop anymore, maybe they move him back and he's their shortstop, and he's 21 years old, so he's got plenty of time to kind of transition between third base and shortstop if need be. I'm
excited to him just to pick Bryce's brain. Aidan did mention that to John Clark on Wednesday, just being able to pick his brain like that, man.
Yeah.
He's like, it was funny too. It hit me, we talked about I'm getting older, turning 30 here in about 2 weeks.
Man. It's exciting.
It's tough.
30 years old.
And then you hear Aidan Miller say, like, he watched Bryce Harper growing up.
Oh, yeah. Yeah.
Damn.
I mean, Bryce has been in the big leagues for, 15 years? So,
14, Aidan, it was 2012.
He came up in 2012. Yeah. So, Aidan Miller's been 6 years old when Bryce came up to the big leagues.
Good Lord.
It's just crazy, a 21-year-old kid, talking about
That's what I'm saying.
I was hanging out at Jake's bar when I was 21 years old.
Correct. Shout out Westchester.
Shout out WCU, Golden Rams. Shout out Matt Lecture.
My 21st year here on this earth also was spent mostly at Jake's bar in Westchester.
Yeah, no doubt.
But it is crazy. And I think, talking to Aidan previously, he's very open-minded. He's not that kid that is like, hey, I'm here, I'm a top prospect. He's not like that at all. He's very open ears, listening. I've seen him have conversations with Preston Mattingly where the eye contact didn't disassociate.
Yeah.
He's very locked in, and I think having Bryce Harper, JT, and Kyle Schwarber in that corner with him is big for his development. And you know where I stand on that guy, man.
You're his number one fan.
Bring him up.
You're his number one fan.
Can't wait to talk to him. Looking forward to it.
Yeah.
All right, as we wrap up, did a little mailbag. So thanks everyone for sending in their questions. We really do appreciate it. Huge fan of our guy Cake Marsh on Twitter, man.
Yes.
He's the one that made the AI picture of the Cobra on the milk box. Always appreciate that.
That's right. And he had some good questions.
And he had some really good questions. So shout out to Cake Marsh one on Twitter. Great human being. So their first question was, who are we more concerned about, the Braves or the Mets heading into 2026?
Good question. Easy to say both. I would probably, at the end of the day, say Mets. I think the Mets are a little more concerning. I just don't trust the Braves to stay healthy. They got too many guys that are coming off injuries and injury prone. We just talked about Schwellenbach. Can you count on Strider? Can you count on Acuna to stay healthy? Riley's been dealing with some injuries. So I just think that Atlanta has too many injuries for me to feel confident about them. Go out and sign a shortstop, and he's already hurt. So it's the Mets, though, have a lot of change, but a lot of talent, man. Like Freddie Peralta, to me, is a really big deal. Lindor, we talked about. I think he'll be, if not by opening day, he'll be back. Simeon, Bo Bichette, as much as it pains us to admit that. Polanco, they got a whole new infield. They're moving Soto to left. So they got a lot going on, but that's a lot of talent I just rattled off. And I think that at the end of the day kind of makes them a bigger threat to the Phillies.
Have you seen the first few videos and pictures of Bo at Mets camp?
I saw a couple different things, but I haven't really dove in too deeply on that.
Wearing the cutoff, like the big circular, like down to his waist cutoff on the sleeves.
Yeah.
Kind of looks like a loser.
If he was doing that in Clearwater right now,
be like, what a
look,
badass.
what a bad. Yeah, Bader did that. We loved it.
Correct.
Now, yeah, exactly.
Correct.
But it's in a Mets uniform.
Looks
Weirdo.
weird,
What a
man.
weird dude.
Looks weird.
Yeah.
I agree with you. It is the Mets that concern me the most because, like you said, I'm glad you brought that up. Really, we haven't seen the Braves when they went on that run, basically from 2018 to 2022. Winning the National League East consistently, they stayed majority of the time healthy. Mm-hmm. They have not over the last few years, and until they prove that, I don't see them really being a threat. I think they're going to be good. They had a good offseason. Mm-hmm. Not to say anything, downgrading them, but they don't concern me as much as the Mets do. You add Freddie Peralta in there. That's really the big question mark coming into 2026 was the rotation. You add Freddie Peralta in there. I think it's going to be electric season for the Mets. But
I think of Devin Williams too, which he was bad last year for the Yankees. But if he can bounce back and be anything like he was in Milwaukee, that's huge for them.
And you got year 2 with Noah McLean, who scares the what out of me. The Phillies could not figure him out. Now maybe seeing him a little bit more, they can get to him in 2026. But yeah, it has to be the Mets.
Yep.
Still think the Phillies win the National League East this season. But yeah, man, it's still they still scare me a little bit more. The second question from Cake. Was and give the people one 2025 Brewers for this year, an NL team we are not talking enough about.
Interesting. Okay, so to me that's like a team maybe that didn't make the postseason last year. Mm-hmm. Like it's I think like the Cubs are going to be a lot better, but people talk about the Cubs there in the postseason. Like Padres are a talented team. I'm going to stay in the NL West and go with the Giants. I think Buster Posey knows what he's doing. The Tony Vitello hire is a huge gamble, but it could pay off. And I think they made some nice moves. We mentioned Bader, I think, is a nice move for him. Arise, they're going to put at second base. I mean, the guy that can hit the ball. You got a full year now at Devers. Then you got Adames at short. You got Chapman at third. Like that's
Patrick
talent
Bailey
right there.
Patrick
man.
Bailey behind the plate.
Yeah, Patrick Bailey. Now they got some pitching questions behind Logan Webb, but to me, the Giants, I think they got a lot of things going for them right now. Tough division. I mean, the Dodgers are tough. The Padres are tough. Obviously, the Rockies are not good, but the Giants
are
the Diamondbacks.
Whatever.
Can't forget about the Diamondbacks. Yep. They're without Carroll now, but they got some talent on their squad too. But I'll go Giants.
I'm going to go Reds. I know they did make the playoffs last year, but a team that really kind of made that surge at the end of the season and got into the wild card round. But you add Eugenio Suarez, who is a fan favorite already in Cincinnati from when he played there previously. You have Hunter Green. You already have a pretty good lineup. Ke'Bryan Hayes is in his first full year with Cincinnati as well. Keep an eye on the Reds to me. Stick in the National League Central. I don't know how good the Brewers will be this season, but I think the Reds will make a run. I think the Cubs win the division, but it wouldn't surprise me if the Reds, led by Tito and maybe even Nick Castellanos.
Okay.
I think they're going to make some noise this year.
Yeah. How'd you like to be a Brewers fan? And you go to the NLCS last year, you get swept, but you win 90. They had the best record in the National League. And they're acting in the offseason as if they're like some rebuilding team. Like
it's insane.
It's crazy. If they even get anywhere near the postseason, my guy Pat Murphy should get a third straight Manager of the Year award. It's just like it's just a strange way they operate. I know they're not a big market squad. I know they don't have the resources that like the Phillies, Dodgers, and Mets do, but you can still kind of compete a little more and be a little more aggressive in the offseason.
It surprised me, man. It surprised me. I don't know, is that going to lead to the lockout? Because it's like, hey, this team has won this division how many years in a row now?
Yeah.
And they're just not doing anything because they don't have the money.
Yeah. And how about the Cardinals, too, in the NL Central? Like,
right.
My whole life, the Cardinals have been not a juggernaut, but like a marquee franchise, winning World Series here and there, in the postseason certainly a lot. And they're like completely tearing it down because they don't have any money for various different reasons. But it's just so weird to see the Cardinals operating like that, too.
That's a great point. My entire life, they've been, maybe not a juggernaut, but a staple in the
contender.
Playoffs. Yes.
Yeah.
And to see them kind of go down this road where, is Lars Nootbaar your best player?
Yeah. Well, thank goodness. It's Michael Barkan's guy, Lars Nootbaar.
Lars Nootbaar.
Yeah. Michael's more of a fan of the name than the actual player in a lot of instances. Yeah.
Correct.
Lars Nootbaar.
Lars Nootbaar. All right. Question here from our guy, Alex, on YouTube. He said, what's somebody, which is kind of piggybacking off what we had our podcast last week, but who's a name that can surprise a lot of people in spring training this season?
Philly spring training.
Philly spring training.
Yeah, Philly spring training.
Correct.
I don't think like Crawford or Payne are going to surprise anybody. We talked a little bit about Rincones. I'll go De La Cruz. I'll go Brian De La Cruz, who we've talked about, who you made a point to bring up.
That was gonna be
MVP of the winter. Oh, man. Okay, I'll go somewhere else.
No. Go.
Because we talked a lot about Otto Kemp. I think De La Cruz could be a guy that people don't expect to make the roster, that if he has a big spring, and he's done it at the big league level. He's done it for the Marlins. He's produced for the Marlins. He has shown he has pop in his bat. I think he's a guy that could end up being their fifth outfielder.
I love it. I'm super excited to see Brian De La Cruz down there.
Yeah.
Coming off, like you mentioned, the MVP in the Dominican League, man. He's somebody that could be in that running for an outfield spot.
Mm-hmm.
If he shows the power that he has, just in the last 6 months, I'm there. I'm going to go. I know it's not great, but Dylan Moore does excite me.
Okay.
And I think it's a name that people will get to know.
Okay.
You have Emuno Sosa. Like we said, there's not really too many bench battles, and we'll get to them when we're down there next week. But if Dylan Moore can cement himself as somebody that can kind of just be plug and play this season, and he can prove himself down in spring, I think that's a name that will surprise a lot of Phillies fans.
Yeah.
Winning the Gold Glove is a huge deal as a utility man last season with 2 different teams, with the Mariners and the Rangers.
Mm-hmm.
I think if he can have a good spring and kind of cement himself, because we've seen them the Phillies bring in some of these guys. I'm trying to think, was it not Carlos Arroyo? Was it Carlos Arroyo last year? It was the name
that the Phillies brought in?
Yeah.
I don't think so.
No, I forget his name.
You're talking about guys they brought in on
just on 1 year minor league deals that you're like, oh, this could happen. And then they don't really turn out to much. They kind of live in AAA.
Yeah.
Like Rodolfo Castro is a name out there.
Right.
Obviously, he was a little different because he got brought into a trade, but it's like an exciting name.
Yeah.
And then you don't really hear from them because they're in AAA the entire season.
Right.
I think Dylan Moore could be a name that is like, hey, bring this guy off the bench at any time. Maybe put him in second, short, third, whatever he wants to play. If any of those guys need a day off, I think Dylan Moore will surprise a lot of people in Philly spring training.
All right. Good deal. Again, that last bench spot is up for grabs, and we just named 2 of those guys that are contending for it. So lots of proof for those guys. And guys like that are going to get even more playing time this spring when everybody leaves the WBC.
Bingo.
As your boy Aidan Miller will, and the rest of those guys. There are going to be more opportunities than normal because the Phillies are losing quite a few position players and pitchers for a solid couple of weeks.
That they are. All right, last question. So we didn't start off topic, so we'll end off topic.
Yes.
But our guy, Presley Education Services, had a question for the mailbag. Or one of your off-topic questions. Who's your favorite current 76er and why, Sean Kane?
Favorite current 76er?
Current. I know because I think you had all time.
Yeah, in my mind I had all time. Okay, current. I mean, Maxey to me is such a likable guy. Like he's a great player, likable superstar. That's an easy answer. I'll try to think of somebody else that I really did like. Jared McCain. I thought he was a great kid, you want to call him, but just a lot of positive energy with him.
Went to a good school.
Yeah, exactly. And my wife would be happy to hear me say that Tyrese also went to a great school, although he was there for all of about 5-6 months.
Yep. Same with Jared.
Yeah, Jared too. Yeah. So, but I think they got a good mix. I like Embiid. Obviously, he's the key to the whole operation without getting into the basketball breakdown. I'll stick with Maxey.
I like it.
I think he's got a lot of good vibes, and he's a very humble superstar.
We won't get too much into it. Mine is VJ Edgecombe.
Mm-hmm.
Very simple. The Sixers haven't got really somebody like that in a rookie class in a very, very long time. Zaire Smith was going to be that guy, never became that guy because of a peanut allergy.
Yeah.
But VJ Edgecombe, they struck gold on that. I didn't agree with the pick when it first came out. I thought Ace Bailey was going to be that dude. Went and saw him play up in Rutgers, and then that kind of shifted the focus off everything when he came out in the pre-draft progress, whatever you want to say.
Glaring omission for me, and I don't consider him a player anymore, although he technically is the pride of North Philadelphia, Cardinal Doherty High School, Villanova University, 20th NBA season now, gold medalist, NBA champion, Kyle Lowry.
There it is.
Probably, I love Tyrese, but I'll go with, because again, I think like Kyle is more of a coach now. But Kyle's a guy. You got to build up his whole resume. Kyle is a guy, to date myself, when he was at Villanova, was right after I started here at then Comcast Sportsnet, and I covered those 05-06 Villanova teams in the NCAA tournament with Kyle and Randy Foy and Alan Ray, and I got to know Kyle back then when he was 19, 20 years old, and it's remarkable the career he built for himself, and it's cool to see him finishing it up in his hometown.
When he got that standing ovation in Toronto,
that was cool.
That's a chills moment.
Yeah.
Really cool. So there you go. Sorry, 1 second.
Uh-oh.
Presley Education Services.
Copy.
Appreciate your question. Couldn't remember their name, but I really do appreciate it. And thank you for everyone who asked questions. Sorry if we didn't get to some of them. We will get to them down there because Sean Kane and I all hopped up on Dayquil, baby. I feel nuts.
Good.
But we are heading down there. I'm so excited, man. Like I said, seeing the scenes down there already has gotten me super excited. Can't wait to see everybody. So the next podcast We'll be down there. Hopefully Tuesday night. Keep an eye out for that. Then we're going to have one Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, possibly Friday before Sean Kane gets on a plane and heads home.
Yep.
And then I head home on Sunday after the very first Phillies spring training home game. They're in Dunedin on Saturday the 21st, and then they're at Baycare Ballpark on Sunday the 22nd. I'll be heading home from there. Last thing, off topic, you got a Daytona 500 winner?
Oh man, I'll leave that to you. I mean, that's so many good contenders to pick from. I've been really doing some research on that, and it's just.
Can you name one driver?
Anybody's
current?
race? Yes. Oh man, you're embarrassing me. I could have named like a lot of guys 10 years ago. Denny Hamlin.
Denny Hamlin. Shout
Denny
out.
Hamlin is
You're
a
locked
current.
in.
Yeah. Is there a? I'm probably going to say the wrong last. This is bad. Stenhouse.
He's still there.
Okay.
Yeah, Ricky
Stenhouse is there. You can fill the people in. You're like a NASCAR guy.
I'm a big
Clearly
NASCAR guy.
I'm not.
It's going to be fun.
I'm more of like a Jeff Gordon, Dale Earnhardt Jr.
Sure.
Those days.
Sure.
Darrell Waltrip.
Darrell Waltrip still there.
That's a real
Michael
name?
Waltrip, yeah.
Good. Okay.
Yep.
Go ahead. You give the expert.
No. I think if you're looking for somebody, dark horse, Austin Cindric is a good name to look out for. Ryan Blaney always does well. And, of course, the Hendrick drivers of William Byron, Kyle Larson, and Alex Bowman.
Wow. The Great American Race.
Sunday.
Yeah.
Keep an eye out for it, baby. We got cars on track. We got balls hitting mitts. We got cleats on dirt, baby.
Closet NASCAR guy, Ricky Paul Battalico.
Big NASCAR guy.
Big NASCAR guy.
Him and I
you guys
went
to
down
the race
to Dover.
Yeah.
There's some stories. We ended up in victory lane with Denny Hamlin.
Of course.
Don't know how it happened. I literally had 2 bushes in my hand of beer. And I was like, am I allowed to drink these? And they're like, yeah.
It's victory lane and there's no
Go
rules.
ahead.
No rules.
And I was just like,
Victory
okay.
Lane.
Just sit next to the car. Ricky did whatever he needed to do to get us down there. And
Yeah.
some good times. So, you looking forward to spring training, though?
I am. Can't wait to get down there. Tuesday, as you said, we'll do some podcasts from down there and check out the guys up close and personal. Get a look at the 26 Fighting Phils.
Can't wait. There will be a ton of content. We'll have interviews. We'll have some fun stuff with the guys, so keep an eye out for all that. On the other note, keep an eye out for Takeoff with John Clark. That will come out on Friday morning. He has interviews with Andrew Painter, Justin Crawford, Aidan Miller, Carl Crawford, Justin Crawford's dad, the former big leaguer. And we'll have some Dave Dombrowski and Rob Thompson comments in that podcast as well. Again, John has done such a phenomenal job down there already, and we're ready to take the reins. When he comes home, we'll be there to cover it all. So thanks for listening to the Phillies Talk podcast presented by Team Toyota. For Sean Kane, I'm Spencer McKercher. We will catch you guys in sunny and 70, baby, Clearwater, Florida next week.